Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and this video is going to be on the Dark Lord by Watto's Junkyard and Saber Bay. This is a masterpiece build I just finished with this hilt, and I am super excited about it, super happy with how it came out. First off, I want to give a shout out to Kai and Marcus at Watto's Junkyard and Justin at Saber Bay. This is an awesome hilt. As usual, those guys did a really terrific job making this hilt. It's really nicely made. It's really nicely machined. The finish on everything is exquisite. The detail, phenomenal. There's nothing about it that's cheap or poorly made. The grips are really nice. The grips are, they work like hard plastic ones in that they stay on. They're really good adhesive, but they are actually black rubber, so they feel really good in your hand. The chrome is perfect, the powder coat is perfect, and the little elements and details are all there to make this guy nice and screen accurate. It's really just totally spot on. If you put this guy side by side with the Master Replica's screen accurate movie replica, I don't know that there would be any difference at all. But it's really well done, and not only that, but they really go the extra mile. You know, you get a nice case to keep it in, whether you're just storing it until you build it, or maybe you want to keep it packed up in this. You get a second pommel that doesn't have sound vents. You get a second hilt extension. This is the front end of the hilt, the emitter side. So if you wanted to do a 1-inch blade, you would use this one. And you get a second greeble for inside. If you want to do a 7-inch blade, you use this one. So really, they spared no expense. They give you a blade plug. Actually, 2 blade plugs, 7/8 and 1-inch, depending on which option you choose to go with. I opted for the 7/8 inch because I always prefer that to a 1-inch. But really just nicely done. As always, they executed it perfectly. Here's another of their work. I don't know that Saber Bay was involved with this one, but this is the Tusken Slayer from Watto, and Marcus and Kai did an awesome job. This is, as you guys know, it's one of my all-time favorites, just based on the quality and the scale of it. It is really a piece of art. Really finely crafted, finely engineered piece of art. They always do the extra, you know, little things like magnetic pieces, you know, stuff that they didn't have to do. So yes, comparatively, you're gonna pay more for a Watto's Junkyard hilt than you are for a Corbanth or an 89 Sabers, but they're made in, it's German engineering versus made in China. You know, and I'm not knocking things made in China. There are really nicely made hilts from 89 Sabers, but you pay a bit more, but they give you a bit more. In fact, they give you a lot more. So with that being said, this is a Vader hilt. This is the Revenge of the Sith, I think, pretty sure. Revenge of the Sith Vader hilt. There's a lot of incarnations of Darth Vader's lightsaber, right? This is the one everybody is familiar with. The old Graflex, actually the old Highland Flash model. This is what everybody knows, and when they think of Vader's saber. This guy is, you know, it's basically the same lightsaber, but all the pieces of it are all subtly changed. You know, like the graphics clamp is, instead of facing off to the left, is facing straight up. This bulb switch section is replaced by this greeble. The belt hook area is replaced by this big honkin' architectural greeble. The bulb shroud for the Highland Flash is replaced by a nice metal, slim, smoothed down, simplified, sharp, aggressive, but also clunky, non-working Flash. This is more of a stylistic piece that somebody made while looking at this and envisioning this, created this, probably with pen and paper or pencil, or a CAD program or something. This was kind of artwork, and this was kind of, what do we have on stage, on set, because we need to find a laser sword for the evil guy in this movie we're doing back in 1977. Somebody come up with something quick. Not knocking it. And then there's the other incarnation, also much less mainstream. This is the Return of the Jedi Darth Vader Saber, and again, very similar, but at the same time everything has changed. A couple bolts here, lots of bolts just screwed into this section, and this was just a Graflex. This was this, and then they screwed a bunch of bolts through this section to create something different, painted this part, bolted this section on, bolted this on, and put a couple screws through here in some big metal honking piece they found, and changed up the grips, and completely just got rid of the whole Graflex clamp. So this was another, kind of spur of the moment, on the fly, what can we find on the set to make the bad guy's weapon, but, in 1984. So, now that we've got the history out of the way, Darth Vader's lightsabers are, they're fun because it's the biggest, badass, most evil dude from everyone's favorite sci-fi movies. Vader is the guy. He's the most evil. Kylo Ren, he's great. He's not 1/10 as evil as James Earl Jones was. So when you're thinking of like the truly badass evil bastard lightsaber, you think of Vader. And when you have all these different versions of it to mess around with, to play with, to find which one you like the best, and rock it on your hip, it's nice to have this many options. So with that out of the way, put these guys back up and let me show you what I built here. I guess the best way to do this guy is to just turn it on, and we'll go through it bit by bit. So as you can see, you access the internal components by unscrewing this section. Sound vents down here. This is a nice, die cast, I think, piece. This is really heavy. It's 10 ounces right here. Right at the bottom, you have a nice premium JBL 28mm high-end sound CoverTech knob, and this is machined billet aluminum, like really nicely done. Not just a cheapo CoverTech, but exactly, really, precision made. Here we have actually not the blade plug it comes with. This is the blade plug it comes with, but I personally like some light emitted, and since this fits flush into here, there really isn't any light that's going to come through this, and I hadn't really decided yet how I wanted to get light, so what I did was I just went with the traditional Empire Strikes Back blade plug style, and it looks good in this. There's another blade, kind of a blade retention greeble in here, but really it's just for screen accuracy and for looks. It's a nice chrome block that's mounted inside of the emitter here. Then if you remove this decorative greeble, you have access to a couple different screw holes. You can use them as set screws. If you want to lock the chassis in, you can just screw right into here or both, and that will screw right into the chassis. The the heatsink or the blade connector section, and that'll lock the chassis in. But what I did was I went with a different route. Your buttons for this guy are not in this top section of the fake clamp card. They are in this lever, and they are mounted inside here, facing that way. So if you push here, that is one button. If you push down here, that's your other button. So what I did was power on the bottom, auxiliary on the top. As you guys can hear, there's really good action on the switches. And that's because the mechanism that they include with this hilt, which is another nice thing, it's just a small plastic 3D printed part. The mechanism that they include is perfect and it works great. All you have to do is sand down, file down the legs of this switch area here so that it slides nicely, and then you get a couple pieces of wire to kind of like almost works like a push pin or a hood pin. Just kind of push a small piece of wire through two holes on the inside so that keeps the pin from coming out this way. But nice hidden, easy access, really functional switches with great action. Chassis is Goth 3 Designs Master Chassis, done in rhodium and gold, and I added additional stainless steel elements, some piping coming up through here done in like a radiator style cooling piping, as well as back here kind of roping around the crystal. The crystal is a just about 2.5 inch long double pointed spear that starts here and ends down there, which you'll really see when I turn it on. Some additional stainless steel polished piping here, some brass piping running up here, and then your sound card electronics are mounted behind. So you have the whole backside of this crystal chamber back in here is where you have to mount everything up, and as you can see, I neopixeled as much as I possibly could right on top of the sound card, and in order to illuminate and create accents for behind the window paneling here on the cover. If you're on the Shapeways website and you see this chassis, the picture that they show you, it shows it with this white frosted windowing going on, but when you order this and it comes in the mail, you just get this plastic piece with nothing here, and there is no piece to order. There's no piece you can buy from Goth 3 Designs to fit in here, so you got to get creative and come up with your own way of creating a frosted window here. So what I did was I just used some really thin frosted diffused plastic. I did 2 layers of that, and then I did 1 layer of really fine closed cell foam to further diffuse the light. And the trick is everything has to be very thin. You want to get it as much diffusion as you can to diffuse the light from the pixels, but at the same time as thin as you can so that this cover will still fit on, stay on, and not like stick up so that the bottom of the hilt won't go sliding on. And that's tricky. Here I did the main power switch and a recharge port. I added this area myself. There was a round cutout here that was intended for a standard 2.1 millimeter Switchcraft recharge port, but I prefer the smaller 1.3 millimeter recharge ports, and I absolutely refuse to build any lightsaber that doesn't have a kill switch, because kill keys are they're annoying, to say the least. So I just smoothed out, widened out, and squared out the hole so that I could put both in there. And we have some architectural aluminum mesh and some circuitry behind and inside of it that's mounted up in here. Inside of that is mounted the Bluetooth control unit for this lightsaber, and then through this window some additional geometric aluminum mesh with the notification LEDs packed in behind that with some additional diffusing material. And that's probably, for now, that's the most of it. So let's turn it on. And as you can see, the light is pretty well diffused. It's not exactly fully 100% diffused, but you're definitely not seeing individual neopixels through there. As I said, here's your Bluetooth notification area, and this is just flashing red because it is not connected. Once you connect it up, which I might as well do right now, you'll see that that goes solid and stops flashing. I'll grab my trusty iPad and run the Force Sync app, and there we have found right away Vader with 4 bars of service. Tell it that it's the Proffieboard electronics, and then you just go over here to, well, before we even get there, we can check the power. It's 4.1 volts or 100%, so that means the battery is fully charged. The battery, incidentally, in this guy is a big boy. It is a 2170 Samsung 50E, which is my new favorite battery, or at least right up there with my new favorite batteries. This is a 5,000 milliamp hour 10 amp battery. So it is ideal, absolutely ideal for a lightsaber, because you really get a huge capacity with still a relatively solid, certainly very respectable high drain element to it. Personally, I like to try to stay above 10 amps for neopixel lightsabers. 15 or 20 is what I usually shoot for. But as you guys will see, this battery handles the Neopixel blade no problem whatsoever. So if it's rated for 10 amps, I feel like it may be on the higher end of that, you know, how it's actually performing. But it's a great battery. It's a huge battery. Should give you at least a full day of use. Let's fire this guy up. As you can see, the panel window section fires right up. It's got a color cycle going on right now. It's just a smooth scrolling white, and then when you fire it up, it's basically like a lightsaber blade built into there with a color cycle running behind it. So you can see it retracts when you turn it off. Comes on with a white flash when you turn it on. Go to the next. Sorry about that. We'll go to the next preset. This is a more traditional color cycle that ramps up from white to red. And all the neopixels that are in this lightsaber are RGBW neopixels as opposed to RGB neopixels. So they're not the standard SK6812s that everybody uses, that we're all used to using. These have red, green, and blue neopixels, and then each one has an additional white dye in it, so it's basically got double the brightness. And that means that this little guy running right here, if you like stare at it for more than 5 seconds, it hurts. Like, it's extremely damn bright. The next up blade preset is a Cylon Effect. So it's doing basically the same thing, but instead of color cycling, it's back and forth, doing a ramping. Next up we've got, once again, a color cycle of white just slowly scrolling, and then jumping to a red blade, essentially. Which is cool, because if you do a lockup or a clash or something, it's gonna give you the effect right here in the window. It's just a little extra for fun, for detail, for adding more, you know, fanciness to it. Now here's the only glitch so far. For whatever reason, this blade, it doesn't want to play the sound font that's on the card for it, so I'll figure out what's going on with that at some point, but as you can see, no audio. But we've got a color cycle that's ramping up and down relatively slowly from white to red. I guess the rest of them, I'm thinking, are probably all just about the same, so I don't need to run through all of them, but you guys get the idea here. You also notice that the Bluetooth notification area is solid red. That's because it's not connected, so it's not flashing anymore, so that's kind of giving you that information. Every blade preset has some force quotes and has an audio track to go with it, so this guy, for example, connection lost. Bear with me, let me reconnect. And notice this is flashing again. That's because the Bluetooth disconnected. Let's get back in there. I wonder if it's my iPad or the lightsaber that's acting up. But at any rate, as you can see, it's really easy to connect up with Bluetooth, even if it's not 100% perfect. It's definitely very good. This is the first glitch I've actually really even seen. So back to the first blade. We've got the Imperial March. Next blade. Nothing. Okay. Huh. Well, looks like I found the first glitch with this software. When it tries to play a certain audio track, it fails and it kicks the connection out. So I need to tell Dimitri about that so he can tell his guy about that. But at any rate, just a simple restart and reconnection takes care of it. Duel of the Fates.
Impressive. Most impressive.
I was just showing you guys some of the different force quotes that are built into each of the blades. Now, let's see. Here is the shine through that you get with the blade plug. Not quite as good as I would like it to be, but that's okay because this is not a permanent blade plug solution for this guy. But you do get some shine through, so it's good. It looks really good in person. It's not as bright as I'd like it to be, but it will be. To remove the blade plug, simply 2 twists on this really tiny micro set screw here, and then go ahead and insert your blade. I am using my shop blade. It's 34 inches long. HD Neopixels, my new Neopixel strips that are 188 pixels per meter on this blade. And we can run through what some of the blades look like with this guy. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and reset. going to start at the beginning. Let's just connect up real quick. So your first blade is standard red with white flash. Next one is a dark orange. This is it's not dark orange, it is orange red, I think the color is. So this is almost red, but not quite. A little bit of orange in it. It's like a blood orange color almost. So really aggressive white flash on flash and lock up. Next up, this is a Chartreuse Blade. Yes, I said that, Chartreuse. I just found this color hidden inside the colors that the Proffieboard has built in, and this thing's awesome. It's a great green. It's like an evil, kind of slimy monster drool color, and it's really awesome. It really fits really well on this. Fits really well on this saber. This is orange. This is yellow. This is a mixture, or it's not a mixture, it's red doing a really hyper fast pulse with almost off, so that's why it looks kind of a muddled red, with a blue blaster block, blue flash on flash, white lockup, and the contrast is really good when you get the blue on red. It's really aggressive, in your face. And as you guys could see, the battery is handling the Neopixel strips perfect. It's running these pixels, it's running the crystal chamber, it's running the blade, it's running the blade connector. Remember, there are still 5 pixels in there that are working right now. There's 10 up here, there's 2 down here. It's also running the LED Bluetooth notification area. It's also running the Bluetooth and the amplifier and everything else. And you don't notice any dimming in that blade. At least, I certainly don't. Sure, you move it over so you guys can see all the way to the end. Definitely no dimming at all. And that's also important because one concern I had with my new HD Neopixel strips is that if they weren't built right, there would be some dimming towards the end because of the parasitic voltage drop across the Neopixels from the beginning to the end. But the company that built them for me overbuilt them in every possible way, so they're really well done. I'm super happy with them. The company did a kick-ass job, and they do not dim at all. Do not disappoint. This is the Silent Blade, red color cycle, as you can see. This is the high-speed color cycle, the Turbine Blade. It goes from a kind of a bright yellow-orange into red. And then it goes back to that yellow-orange as it shuts off. This is a fun new blade that I just came up with. This is like a twist on the electricity blade. It's blue and yellow with some of that chartreuse in it, and also an RGB effect. You see, when you get the lockup effect, you get a real like yellow green flash red in there.